Hey everyone, welcome to Mystifying Miracles. Today I have three little short stories for you that kind of each one talks about just little miracles that occur. And these little miracles, they're cool to hear because they also reaffirm that God is in control and that these little things happen all the time. So stay tuned and I'm going to get into it. A woman by the name of Maddie Holden was driving home from Sparta, New Jersey one night. She had just left the hospital where she was visiting her daughter. She didn't know that a bad storm was brewing and coming upon her fast. The wind, the hail, the winds, she said, were like hurricane force. So as she's driving, she's having to veer her truck constantly back onto the road because the strong winds just kept blowing her off. Well, this happened so many times and the wind was getting so bad. Each time this happened, Maddie's getting pretty worried. So she just immediately starts praying, Lord, please help me. I don't even know how I'm going to get home safe. Well, as she's doing that, she's also nearing a shortcut. And Maddie wasn't quite sure whether she should take the shortcut or not. And she had to decide quick because it was coming up on her fast. Now, if she took it, great. It's a shortcut. She gets home faster, right? But as she's looking that way, as she's nearing it, it's dark and it's deserted. So she's worried, oh gosh, what if I blow off the road or I get stranded? Who's going to find me or help me? She has to make that split decision pretty quick. And as those winds again are still picking up and getting worse, she decides, okay, I'm just going to do it. She comes upon the turn and she just takes it really quickly. And when she turned and she was on that road, she was shocked because all of that howling wind, the hail and the rain, it had stopped. Not gradually, immediately. As soon as she took the turn, there was nothing. Nothing. She even said she looked up at the sky and she could see the clouds and the stars, and it was beautiful and it was calm and it was hushed. You couldn't hear the roar of the storm anymore. And while this whole thing was so bizarre, she knew that it was God helping her out so that she could get home safely that night. Vic was a man, he had a family, a children, wife, and they came upon hard times financially. And it was their thing every week to give 5% of their earnings to the needy and the poor. But during this rough financial time, he didn't know what he was going to do. How was he going to provide for his family and continue giving to the poor? So he kind of just had a chat with God and he said, Lord, all right, if you promise to take care of my family and my children, I promise I'm going to be faithful and continue giving to the needy. I'm just going to step out in faith and continue it. Well, a week passes and Vic, it's a Saturday, and Vic pulls into a gas station. Now, this was his routine. He would fill up with gas so that he would have it for the following week. And he drove the same amount every week, same old routine. Well, as he's getting out his truck to pump the gas, he's like, wait a second. And he's baffled because he doesn't remember getting gas the previous Saturday. He's like, oh my gosh, I forgot to get it last Saturday. And he looked at the tank. It's empty. It had been empty like it is every week, like clockwork. And he thinks to himself, how did I just drive a whole week on an empty tank of gas? He was shocked and he was amazed, but he took it as reassurance of God's generosity that, hey, God's got him. He took care of him and his family, and Vic was able to still give to the needy and poor. So just a cool little story about how something as simple as gas, forgetting to put in gas, and the Lord provided this man with an extra week. Just really cool. Ray told WEZ radio station in Boston of an occurrence that happened right after a snowstorm. It was a weekend and there was this bad storm in Boston. And on a Saturday, Ray picks up the phone, he's going to make a call, and he notices it's dead. This happened occasionally with bad snowstorms, so he was kind of like, oh man. So he puts the phone back down and he decides to go shovel snow. He wants to make use of his time. It had piled up outside, so he's like, okay. He puts his boots on, he goes to the front door, he opens it, and just as he's about to go out to shovel snow, the phone rings. Ray turns around thinking, oh, great, I guess the service is back up. Wonderful. He goes back inside. He answers the phone, and it's his brother. He hangs the phone up after they chit-chat for a few minutes, and he decides that he's just going to go back to what he was doing, which was to shovel snow. So, goes to the front door again, opens it up, and there on the ground, not too far ahead of him, is a live electrical wire that had just fallen because it wasn't there a few minutes prior before he answered the phone. Ray knew immediately in his gut. He was like, oh my goodness, had the phone not rang when it did and I'd gone to pick it up, I would have been right under where that fell, shoveling snow. Therefore, Ray probably wouldn't be here today. Well, Ray's excited about this, like this divine intervention, so he runs back over to the telephone. He's got to call his brother back, tell him what just happened, right? Picks up the receiver, and it's dead. Well, the service stayed dead the rest of that weekend. No one in that neighborhood and the neighborhoods around there, none of them had phone service the rest of that weekend. Well, Monday comes and the crews are out trying to repair all the lines. Ray goes out and starts a conversation with the work crew and the foreman, and he tells them, yeah, strangest thing. I got a call on Saturday and it was my brother. But then, the line was dead again. It was really weird. But as he's telling this story, the foreman's just kind of look at him like, are you nuts? Because he tells them, no, that's impossible. These lines have been down since Friday when the storm blew in. In fact, none of these neighborhoods have had service all weekend. And, as we've been out repairing them, we've seen all the lines and they've all been damaged and or destroyed by this storm. So that was even more like, wow, to Ray, because Ray knew who had temporarily fixed those lines that day so that he would not be harmed. Ray said something interesting at the end of this story where I read it, and he said, when miracles occur, God can and does suspend laws like weather conditions, gravity, telephone wires, anything. He can do that. And quote from Ray, he says, God made nature, and God can manipulate nature any way he chooses. End quote. So what a cool little pack of stories that just those little provisions and little things that, really big things, but you know what I mean? Just little miracles. They happen. They happen all the time. And it's funny because I'll think back on my life and I'll be like, oh yeah, that one time that happened. And I'll realize that it was indeed a miracle and I didn't even realize it in the moment when it happened. So just cool. Let me know you guys' thoughts and opinions, and I hope you enjoyed them. And I thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. I hope you're having a fabulous week, and I'm going to see you for the next one.